Can you tell me what they look like? Can you tell me how many of them there were? Were you given food?
But the teachers are alive. They're not books. They are the very living essences of nature itself.
What a strange person.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be?
What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
Do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. Do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden. As a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm the void one.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
Broadcasting from New York, upstate, near the Great Lakes, it's Lighting the Void. And I'm your host, Joe Roop. And we are live on the Fringe FM, KTLK, digital broadcasting. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. It is a Thursday night, March the 11th, on into the 12th. It's midnight here on the East Coast. And interesting stuff. Jess Rogie, the Rogie Report, talking about seeing UFOs in Rochester. I haven't, of course, I haven't really been sky watching here lately. Hopefully one day I'll be able to do that a little bit better. If you want to join our chat room, you can go to our Discord server at thefringe.fm/chat room, and that'll help you get into the chat room a lot easier. That link still should work. I haven't checked it, but I've seen a few people come into the chat room. Plus, there's a Discord link that's right on the front page at fringe.fm. So you should be able to get in there that way. You can also call into the show tonight at 1-800-588-0335. That's the call-in number. I keep the phone lines open all the time, and the calls are unscreened, so there's nobody checking to see or making sure you got the right question or any of that stuff. So it's all live, and it's all done kind of seat of the pants kind of style, right? So that's how I like doing things, right? Just flying by the seat of my pants, going with God, basically. All right. So I want to thank Alex Whitcomb for coming on last night. It was a real pleasure having him on, and that was a very strange story. If you guys missed it, you'll probably have to check the archive, but it was a very strange story of all the entities that he saw while he was sleeping and things like that happened. It was pretty trippy, actually, to listen to. One of the trippiest stories I heard. And he, just got back from doing a root canal, too. So it wasn't, it was kind of shocking to see what happens in the astral realm and all of the different types of things that can happen to you, which I have no doubts about based on the books of Robert Monroe and other books that we've talked about on the show. I've also been getting a lot of feedback from being on the show, Union of the Unwanted, with all the people that were there: Michael Wan, Jay Dyer, Chris Knowles, Hotep Jesus, Ryan Gable was there. I really look forward to more conversations like that. I think more people should discuss the occult. More people should get involved with it. And I think that it's a good thing. And speaking of that, I talked to a friend of mine today, Andy Cooper, who'd been on the show from the Helio School, which if any of you guys are taking the Helio School, I highly suggest it. And let me know if you're doing that too, because I'd like to know if you are or not. Because essentially what this is everything that we've talked about when it comes to initiation and your spiritual journey, your psychological journey, your emotional journey, everything that you're trying to work out. And just to be clear, when you look into the Western mystery system, in its simplest form, there's a lot to learn, right? Astrology, which goes back to the beginning of time. It's even in the Bible. It's in everything. It's undeniable, right? Alchemy. It goes way, way back too. And magic, or what we call the law of attraction, using autosuggestion, and also the Western Kabbalah, which is like the software for it. But really, essentially, what this whole thing is about is rounding yourself out in a balanced, energetic way with the elements that are in your body, in you. So you have emotions, you have desires, you have intellect, you have a will. You have a will, you have desire and creativity and passion, you have emotions and an astral body, and you have an intellect and a mind. And balancing all of these things out, learning how to use this tree, and this, I'm just speaking of the Western system here, learning how to use the tree and the correspondences to it to navigate the universe through this software system we call the Tree of Life, or the Kabbalah. And in that, learning those things, learning how to balance out the sexual forces in yourself, the male and female forces of yourself, and also, and in very advanced levels, learning how to do that in love too. And that is the plan, right? And you can see this in all different systems. It doesn't matter. It's like Tao, Eastern systems. It's the plan to bring heaven on earth, which we as individuals are constantly trying to work out. The cool thing about the Helio School, and you're all going to go through this regardless, but we're going to I want to talk about this with our guests coming up tonight too, but when you start doing this, it brings things in your life that you have to work out, right? Like things that you really need to work out, like pieces of the puzzle that fit together of life, which makes kind of everything complete for you. A lot of the things that you do that you hide from, we hide from ourselves a lot, and the journey that we're on, for sure. I believe we do. It forces you to deal with these things. It's not a bad thing. It can be extremely uncomfortable, especially for me. It's been emotionally just torturous. But at the same time, I feel like I'm growing. And these lessons that we need to learn reflect back to us through others and our relationships. Now, these are all theories of mine. And our guest coming up, Daniel Bruce Levin, he's a podcast host. He talks about a very interesting story this guy had. He's gone on a really spiritual journey in his life. He's a speaker, a storyteller, a podcaster, and it's going to be a really cool show. So I really would like you guys to participate, and I'm going to learn. What I'm trying to do is learn to ask better questions so I can get more callers, because I see so many of you listening every night. I don't know whether you know this or not, but I can see the map of all of you. I see each and every one of you that listen to the show every night. And essentially we get like the same maybe 15 to 20 callers, and every now and then we'll get a surprise new caller or something like that, which is cool. And some of you guys are my favorites, by the way. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I know who this one is. It looks like 407 area code. You're on the air. Who are we speaking with? Make sure make sure you're the right person before I start bragging on you. What's up, Brian? Yeah, you definitely are one of my favorite people. Thanks for calling in, man. Let me switch this so everybody can hear you. I don't know why it does this. My phone system settings. Every time I log back in, it does this to me, and it changes them. So, all right, now everybody can hear you. Go ahead, brother.
Oh, you're cool. It's fine. I was just saying. Good evening, sir. How are you? What's the topic?
Well, tonight we're going to have Daniel Bruce Levin on. And if you go to his website, like the Mosaic Online, it's really all about taking the spiritual journey and unlocking these things in yourself. And I talked to you. I tell everybody that one night after the show, I talked to you for like hours about this stuff, a long time, right? And
Yeah.
we tend to go down this road of what we think is misery and torture and all this other stuff, but it unlocks all these wonderful things and empowers us, and we don't see it. And sometimes it's hard to have faith that we're going down the path that we need to go on, like whatever this higher self thing is. Some people call it holy guardian angel. I don't know what shamans call it, but whatever it is leading us down the road that we need to go down, regardless of what we think we want. You remember when you and I talked about that?
Sure. Yeah, the great mystery. I think it comes in a lot of forms in the shamanic view, but I think it's all mystery, and it's all all
Yeah.
all for the point of the point to get to, I suppose, is yes, what you said earlier, through it, right?
Yeah,
And if you make it through it,
Yeah.
I think there's that if would it be I think about it a lot anymore, and I think, if it was really easy, I don't know that the rewards would be as great.
Right. Like that
So,
what it really is, freedom and liberty and all this stuff. We think freedom and liberty is like doing what we want to do, but that's kind of an illusion of doing what we feel like we want to do, right? That's freedom and liberty. But in truth,
right.
there's a hell of a lot more freedom and liberty spiritually if the things that have had power over you, or the things that have been the effect of your life, if you can turn around and be the cause of the good things in your life, and the cause, once you start seeing that you're responsible for your reality, but also that there's something kind of guiding you, there's really like a higher liberty in that, I think, than what we would call just regular freedom.
And hard to pick up at the beginning of the journey, right? I mean, because it just feels like you're just getting banged around. But that's probably necessary. And I know, and I think you come from this background too, but I know some of the Baptist men that I was around early on in some men's male Bible study stuff. It was, they always talked about, knocking all the sharp points off,
Yeah, roughing the edges of the ashlar. They talk about that in Freemasonry too. Yeah.
Yeah. Necessary.
I think so, but I'm going through this thing where like I'm trying to live my dreams. Just about every element is there messing with me right now. Like when it comes to love, when it comes to career, when it comes to health, like I have all of this stuff like right in front of me, and it feels like, man, it's like the universe is just putting this carrot in front of your face that you can't have. But at the same time, it's not like I don't think it's that you can't have it. I think it does it on purpose to trigger things inside you so that you can deal with those things, so that you can have them in the right way.
Don't you think? So I've been rolling this one around too. I wonder if some of it is just, and I don't want to get into the abundant stuff about it, but just the fact maybe is to hone in and work on the receiving end of it and actually being worthy of it. Is there stuff? Wasn't it about a couple months back when you were talking one night and you were saying that you were doing shadow work, and I was just like, it just seems like it's always coming up. It's always coming up. There's always that. There's the goal. There's the target. There's the bullseye. You can see it, but then there's the, am I going to hit it? Or what if I get it? What if I don't hit it right? Or is this what I want? Or all the
what if thing? Yeah.
Right. But then again, too, it's, if you do hit it, we were saying this the other night too. I think knowing that there's going to be um, cause and effect, and there's going to be a response even in that new situation or that new relationship or that new job or that new endeavor, whatever it is, goal. There's going to be the give and take inside of that built into it when you get there too. So does it ever change? I don't think it does. It's just the ability to roll with the punches with it all, which is interesting, I think, too, when you kind of start learning that, and then you look back, and then it seems to me the more I receive, the more I'm open to receiving, the more I look back and I just go, I really beat myself up over a lot of stuff that I didn't get, and then I just go, I just probably wasn't ready for it, or I just beat myself up over it because I just didn't have it all together to get there, and I was thinking it was something else when actually it was me, So it didn't have anything to do with the situation. The situation was just the situation, or the relationship, or whatever. It was just I wasn't equal to the task at some point of it. I've been in that situation too, where I've gotten or received things that I wasn't qualified to be into. Ever been in that one? Ever get what you wanted and not been qualified, and then
Yeah.
have to
Yeah. And then you
step
got to try to step
down?
up to it or step down to it.
A
Yeah.
good lesson in humility, but there you go, putting
I
stuff
tell
out
you
there. And
what, when that happened to me when I was younger too. I got married. I had a family. I had a thriving business. I was making like I was netting over $100,000 a year. Right. I had 3 crews of guys. We were painting like all these brand new homes left and right. And
sure,
everything was great. At least I thought it was great. But at,
right.
at some point I was going nowhere. Like I got, how you get to that level where is this it? So I go to work every day. I play golf sometimes. I come home to my wife and kid, which I thought was, I mean, it kind of was good, but at the same time, something just didn't like something wasn't right. And then the bubble
Right.
popped in the housing market, and slowly but surely I started losing.
It's always something.
Yeah,
It's
right.
always something, isn't
It's
it?
like a cycle, right? And then slowly but surely I started losing contractors because they kept having me come down on my square foot prices, and then eventually I was having to I lost crews, and then eventually I was having to do houses by myself, and then eventually I had to work
Oh
for one of
man,
the other
you're singing my
contractors.
song.
Yeah, I had to
You're
work for
singing
one of
my
the other
song.
contractors for the builders that I was working for. So at the very same place where people used to pull up and watch me run crews and watch me be successful,
Right.
2 years later they pull up and they're watching me push a wheelbarrow,
Yeah.
and it was very humiliating.
Humiliation. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I didn't have a
Good for
choice.
the good for the soul. Good for
Yeah,
the soul. You
yeah,
live
yeah.
to tell the tale. You
Uh,
know. The same thing happened to me. I was out on the road, going all over the place. Wanted a family. Boom. I generated 3 children and was married, and was I was on top of the world, and success came very fast and very easy for me, and I went straight to the top. It wasn't long before, and I was out painting, as an airbrush guy,
uh-huh.
but I was out there doing art, which is what I love to do, and everything was just going, and it just seemed like, um, it wasn't 9/11 that killed it. It was already starting to dive, but it wasn't. It was weird. I was never happier with all of it, but the people around me weren't comfortable with, you know, me being. We were just talking. I was talking with someone last night, about this very thing, and it just seemed to roll. I mean, no matter how hard I tried, and because I could do just about anything and generate, you know, massive amounts of dollars in a short amount of time, with very little effort. But I was very comfortable with it. But the people around me, especially family and, now my ex-wife, I mean, she wasn't comfortable with that. And it didn't make sense to people because you're just out there working your will and getting busy and staying busy and doing what you got to do, right? Being the man, the quote unquote man. But it seemed to do exactly the same thing to me. It started to little bit the more I let other people's ideas of what the ceiling was kind of come in. It just pervaded everything, and it just started disassembling. No matter how hard I worked at it, everything just started to disassemble in front of me, and things stopped working. Which you look back at that and you kind of go, what was that? What happened? But
I
then
think
9/11 happened, and then it all went down, and then nobody was doing anything, just like last year.
yeah. Yeah,
Same
but
opportunities, the same.
I think a lot of this stuff is teaching us too that how we talk about the law of attraction and magic and the occult, the esoteric, et cetera, shamanistic stuff. I really believe that when you have a desire, to have a desire is okay. To have a will is perfect. To visualize what you want, to go for it is awesome. But there's something to be said about the result. There's a little trick in there. I think that where we envision this result that we want, and instead of letting go and letting the universe give us the result that it's going to give us, and this is just my theory, because sometimes it's not exactly how we envision it, right? Instead of letting it do that, we try to control the result because we put all this effort into it, and then the failure comes in afterwards, right? Or then what feels like failure.
Sift it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. There's no failure. It's just it's just I think enterprise and some relationships anyway. Yeah, I think they have a life, and once the lesson's learned, and I mean, if you're the master at painting in any craft, once you've mastered the lesson, I think it's coming for you, and it's time to step it up in some way. So maybe that's what, I don't know. I've tried to rationalize it out in a lot of different
We're always
ways.
looking for the reason to the rhyme, But I had a really cool conversation with Andy Cooper today about that, and it's funny too that a lot of the people that I talk to, you'll find that they've gone through the same things, or they have even same stuff, even like same energies in their chart, so you're really not alone. Like, we're all kind of alchemizing together. We just think we're alone on this journey sometimes. I really believe that.
I really feel bad. I really feel bad for the people. I mean, I thought, again, just going through the things that I went through, I mean, and to boot, I remember I was really kind of losing it because I had so much financial responsibility and everything with it that, and then so I actually went in and talked to a psychiatrist about it. I'm like, what's my move here? Because I can't, decide on what to do, whether to let it go, let my baby go, or, hang in there. And she asked me, she goes, have you ever just taken a year off and not done anything? And I'm like, oh my gosh, if I took a year off, everyone that,
everything would fall apart.
Everybody that respects me. And she goes, I think you better do it. You're burning it too hard.
Well, look,
anyway,
I gotta bring our guest on, but I'm glad you called in. I wanted to talk to you and just kind of catch up with you and see where you was. And
man. Always good talk, Joe.
Yeah, I respect you, and I think you're I think you should teach people this stuff, and I'm glad you're here with us, man. So thanks for calling in.
Right on. Same at you, brother. Thank you.
All right, thanks for calling, Brian. Everybody, you gotta love him, right? Like, I'm telling you, it's one of my favorite guys in the world. This is going to be a cool show. It's one of my favorite kind of shows. Daniel Bruce Levine's going to be coming on here just shortly. We got to take our break. But the real questions I want to ask, and we're going to talk to our guest about, is, are we all just pieces that fit together in the puzzle of life, which makes everything complete? Or is it just a singular thing? And why do we sometimes hide from ourselves and the journey that we're on? Why are we always focused on the result? And are the lessons we need to learn reflected back to us through others and relationships and things of that matter? Is everything acting as a mirror? We'll be right back. You guys go for reference, go to the mosaiconline.com or danielbrucelevine.com. We'll be right back with our guest. Stay with us.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners, did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
Want to know what's on the Fringe FM? Check out our schedule at thefringe.fm.
Hola, Fringe listeners. This is Dave Cruz of Beyond the Strange, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
This is Malorcas 45, fan of The Fringe FM, challenging everyone to open their mind's eye. Listen to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop to gain precision for your third eye vision.
My name is Jake. I'm from Billings, Montana, and I am a void walker.
Hey, Joe Roop. Thanks for lighting the void. This is Janine in the bluegrass of Kentucky, and I am a void walker.
What's up, guys? This is Damien from San Marcos, Texas, and I'm a void walker. I listen to the show to keep myself aligned with the world.
Hi, this is Laura, aka Laura Lavender. I'm from Las Vegas, and I listen to Lighting the Void because it helps me understand some of the strangest experiences I've had. So thanks for all that you do and for always being there for us, Joe.
Hi, this is Kronox from Belgium, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop.
Hey, this is country music singer and void walker Jason Benoit, and when I need my fix on the world of magic and the capabilities of the human consciousness, I listen to Joe Roop right here on Lighting the Void Radio.
Born out of the alchemical tradition of Paracelsus is a medical tradition called Spagyria. Though not many people practice this work today, Phoenix Aurelius has been researching and teaching this work for the last 15 years, and he needs your support.
Hi,
I'm Phoenix Aurelius, and I'm the founder of the Phoenix Aurelius Research Society, where I perform modern scientific research on the methods and techniques of Paracelsian alchemy and spagyria for health, wellness, agriculture, ecology, and more. All my work is 100% funded by the public. So if you like what I'm doing and you want to support my research, please consider making a purchase of spagyric medicines from my apothecary, fund your own spagyric IDF wellness research, or participate in my group study or one-on-one immersion courses so that you can learn how to perform this work for yourself. I want to thank you in advance for your support.
Visit thefringe.fm/alchemy research and enter coupon code FRINGE and receive 15% off anything and everything on the website. That's thefringe.fm/alchemy research. And thank you for doing your part and keeping alchemy alive in the modern day. Welcome back to Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. Thanks for listening live here on KTOK Digital Broadcasting, the Fringe FM, as well as KFSA and News Talk. I thank them for picking up the show as well. If you want to support the show, you can go to lightingthevoid.com, click on the Patreon banner, or hit the donation button or grab something from our shop. Leave a review. That's the only way the show continues. It's the only way it happens. So you guys that do that are the backbone that keep me and Pacho and Rohan and all of us, Night Stalker and everybody. We keep the Void Walking going because of you and your support. So thank you guys so much. All right, so we're going to bring in our guest, Daniel Bruce Levin. And Daniel Bruce Levin is the author of the book, The Mosaic. And it's a powerful metaphor that speaks to the human condition along the journey of self-awakening. He's also a podcaster, speaker, and storyteller. And his journey continues to unfold with each conversation and interaction that brings him in his life. And you can go to the book website at themosaiconline.com or his personal website at danielbrucelevin.com. And thank you so much for coming on the broadcast, Daniel. It's good to have you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I think we should stop right there. I think you said it all. I think, we got a great show. Let's really give it a wrap and have fun.
Right on. Right on. Yeah. Yeah, I went to your personal website, and it's like, okay, so you were a monk for 10 years. You are a respected author. You have been at the top of a corporation. Like it sounds to me like you've lived like 5 lives in one life.
I tell people I lived a million lives in one lifetime.
Yeah, that's what it really kind of looks like. Because when I'm reading it, and you have the on your website, danielbrucelevin.com, this where you can work with you, and you talk about the archetypes. It's just some really fascinating stuff. You got these cards that show the archetypes, and I kind of want to hear your story, because you had to start all this stuff from childhood to be able to live this kind of life. I mean, surely it's not a situation to where you're like, yeah, well, when I was 24, then I started changing, or I could be wrong. You just look like a freak of nature when it comes to getting stuff done, to be honest.
A freak, maybe. A nature, I don't know. But yeah. So I think what happened really when I sit back and I think about it, because I've had to think about it myself. I always wish that I could have lived a few blocks from where my parents lived, and I could have gone into my dad's business, and I could have just had my friends from the place where I was born and had longtime friends and lived in the same area. But it was never the gift I was given. I was given a completely different gift. My parents died 2 years apart on the same day when I was 13 and 15 years old.
Oh, man.
And as a kid, and that day was July 4th. So I thought that meant, independence is really, really important. I found out about 40 years later that they died on Independence Day. They weren't born on Independence Day. I mean, I didn't find out they died. I knew they died. But I had given the significance to their day death being that they wanted me to have a message of independence. What I realized 40 years later is that they were really saying to me, independence is death. If you try to do things on your own, you'll never get very far. If they were born on Independence Day, that would have been a different story. But dying on Independence Day meant that they were really trying to tell me that community is what's the most important thing, that a mosaic, pardon my narcissism in the terminology of it, but it's when all the pieces of our life come together, when we start to work with all the different pieces of the world, when we bring in people from all different walks of life, like and unlike minds, that's when we have potential to really achieve something. That's when we have potential to innovate, to really create new things, because when we're sitting in silos of like-minded communities, all we do is hear and think and feel and experience what we've always heard and thought and felt and experienced. But when we have a chance to walk outside of those silos and meet with people who think differently than us, when they look at exactly the same thing we're looking at and they see it entirely different, most of us sit and argue and say, no, the way I see it is right. No, the way I see it is right. But if we would instead be curious and to sit with them and say, I'm just dying to know, how is it that you look at exactly the same thing I'm looking at and you see it the way you see it? Can you explain that to me? Share that with me. Help me to see it the way you see it. Then suddenly our perspective expands and grows, and the way we think explodes into a whole new way of thinking, because we've just doubled the amount of possibilities that are available to us just in one person doing that. And imagine if we did it with everybody we met. That's the beauty of a mosaic. It's all these different pieces, colors, shapes, sizes, broken, whole, large, small, when they all come together to create the artistry of this one creation. It's beautiful. It's magnificent. It's stellar. It's greater than anything we could ever imagine.
It sounds amazing. You know what? The thing that I've been kind of dealing with is when I look at your life, you know, you were 10 years a monk. It says you left one day before being an ordained rabbi in Jerusalem, and then lived 10 years as a monk in a monastery in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains. And then you were the director of a business development at Hay House and played a big part in just like growing this multi-million-dollar business. I consider myself, amongst other people that listen to the show, a very spiritual person, a person that likes to grow. I love to grow and learn. There's nothing I love to do more than that. I think where we all get tossed up, Daniel, is the results, right? We get fixated in on the results of our efforts and energy. And I'm just speaking about myself, because I feel like at this point in my life, everything that I've done, I should have more to show for it. You know, I really feel that way.
Why should you have more to show for it? Why isn't who you are just perfect?
I don't know.
Why isn't what you have to show for it just the most beautiful thing that you could ever imagine? You know, I want to just tell you something. I'm 65 years old, and I want to share with you something that's just happened in the last 3 or 4 months. I was always a pretty good guy. I mean, I always tried to serve people and do kind things and be nice to people, and I always tried to think of other people first. But something happened about 3 or 4 months ago. I have no idea what happened. I have no idea how it came to me. It's as if I bumped into some stranger along the way, and they dropped a gift into my pocket without me knowing it. And that gift was this incredibly gorgeous, magnificent, transforming, magical power of love. And I did nothing to deserve it. I did nothing to merit it. People will say to me, oh, no, look, you did all this stuff, you worked so hard. Yes. None of what I did merited the change that happened from one day to the next. And all of a sudden, I became like this cardboard box that was given the gift of love to transport with me wherever I went. And make no mistake about it, I am not the gift. The gift is love.
Yeah.
I just get the honor to be the cardboard box in which that gift is placed. And I can take it now when I took conversation with you. I can bring that box to this conversation right now and leave it at your doorstep and say to you, this is yours now. Open up the box. throw the box away and keep the gift. Nobody, when you get mailed a present in the mail, no one keeps the cardboard box. They open up the box, put it in the recycle bin, and they keep the gift. Well, the gift is this beautiful, magnificent love. And again, I'm just a cardboard box. Nothing that I did merited even the thought that I could have that gift. But that gift is so big and so powerful that I can give it to you, and then I can also, there's still plenty left that I can put it back in that box and tape that box back together and deliver it to the next household or the next conversation or the next room that I go into. And so I could lament and say, well, my God, at this point, I should be that gift of love. But why? I'm so happy to be just the cardboard box that delivers it to people. And it's such an honor to be able to be that. So when we think we have to be something more than we are, we'll always be disappointed. But when we just simply accept that this is who we are, and it's beautiful who we are. We don't have to be more or less. We don't have to be better or worse. And love doesn't care who we are. Love doesn't care if we've worked hard to get it or didn't do a thing. Love doesn't care if we have wide acclaim around the world or have no acclaim. Love doesn't care if we live in a mansion or under a bridge. Love knows only how to do one thing, and that's give love. And it loves giving love. And it gives love to everything and to everyone. And it's giving you love too. Why not enjoy the present of love just right where you are? And be the person you are, in love with that person, in love with love, and just sharing that love. Become a cardboard box like me and deliver it to everybody else you know. How beautiful. I have no idea where it came from. I have no idea how it was given to me. I have no idea what happened. All I know is one day I woke up and I was completely different. So to those people who said, well, no, you did all this work to achieve it. Well, how come it didn't happen yesterday then? What happened? I was the same person that I was yesterday, except I'm not. I'm totally different.
So all of the things,
the beauty.
All of the things that have happened in your life, do you believe have been a result of just love, or is this something that you've recently
No, it's just something that's recently happened. It's something that recently happened. All the things that I've done mean nothing. They really mean nothing, because if in this conversation with you right now, people don't feel something, and it doesn't matter what I've done. I could have lived under a bridge for 65 years.
Yeah.
But if people do feel something, then I could have lived under a bridge for 65 years, because none of it matters. All that matters is what's happening right here, right now, in this moment. And you see so many people filled up with what they used to be, telling you how great they were and how important they were and what they did and how fabulous that all was. To me, none of it matters, because it doesn't affect one moment what this moment holds.
Yeah.
This moment's the only one that's important.
And yeah, I think you miss out on, you know, like you remember when, I don't know if you remember, but I remember when I was a kid and a day was really long, right? A week was really long. Months were really long. And everybody's like, well, when you get older, time speeds up. I don't think so. I think we lost how to just stay in the moment like we did when we were kids, where we could just looked out the window or sharpened a stick on the road or, you know, tossed rocks or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd like to get back to that. To be honest with you.
Yeah. But it's also okay if we're not doing that. Like, again, it's so we want to make ourselves something other than we are. And my whole message to people is, you are so exquisitely beautiful, just as you are. So what if time goes quicker? So what if you don't appreciate the moments? So what if you're not able to sit on a street corner and just toss rocks? So what if you're not able to sharpen a stick? So what if you get tense by your work? So what if you don't feel like you've gotten as far as you belong? none of it matters because love still loves you. And the greatest thing in the whole world is you're loved by love. We're loved by love. There could be no greater thing in the world. I remember hearing a story about a teacher who was with his disciples. And the disciples said, we want to know when we're going to be enlightened. Can you tell us? And so he said, sure, I'll let you know. I normally wouldn't do this, but I'll let you know. And he went around the room and he said, you have 2 more lifetimes left, and you're going to get enlightened this lifetime. And he went around and said, you have 4 lifetimes. And then one, he said, you have 10 lifetimes. He went around finally to his foremost disciple. And he said to his foremost disciple, you have 1,000 more lifetimes left to be enlightened. And all the disciples in the room were like in shock. They thought, you must feel terrible. You must feel horrible. And they looked over to see him dancing in the corner. And they came up to him and they said, why are you dancing in the corner? Didn't you hear what your teacher said? And he said, yes, I did. Didn't you hear what he said? He said, in 1,000 lifetimes, I'm going to be enlightened. I'm celebrating with joy. It's only 1,000 lifetimes. How glorious is that? And the teacher came up to him and he said, I wanted you to see what a real disciple is. And he tapped him on the forehead. And in that moment, he was enlightened.
Wow.
We don't know what we think. Well, like what we see has nothing to do with what is. That's the beauty of the Mosaic. It's one of its main messages is nothing is as it seems.
Yeah, well,
and
that's
so
for sure.
we get so caught up in the stories that we think we're being told. We get so caught up in the stories that we're saying. But there's spaces between each one of our words. And those spaces between our words are actually brilliantly placed interruptions. And at any point in time, if we sit and get to know that space has the power to interrupt the stories that cause us all the problems that we have in our life. Stories like, I should be further along, or I should be thinner, or I wish I didn't have pain in my body, or whatever the story is that you tell yourself and I tell myself. It's all just beautifully orchestrated stories that don't mean a thing. Because there's really only one story. And that story is told in the silence between those words and in the love that we feel in our heart for our Creator, for ourselves, and for all of humankind, and for this earth that we live in. It's absolutely magnificent. When we fall in love, all we want to do is be with our beloved. What happened to that?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a really good question. Because I was on your website and I was looking at this quote, and this is something that I'm dealing with in my life and mirrors and other ways. But this quote that says, imagine being in a safe place where you feel loved and accepted, listened to and heard, acknowledged and validated, and seen not for what you look like or how much money you have, but for who you are. Feel in the safety of this space, everything, you're not falling away. You're not falling away in all that you are emerging. And see, to me, I have talked about this a lot on the broadcast. The walls that we have are incredible. That they don't need to. I feel like if they just would come down, and I'm totally in this community. I feel like a community person, a family person, a community person. So I think there's a lot of people out there that feel that, Daniel, that they want community, that they want love in their life and they want to have it, but they don't see it and feel it already. And I think sometimes, I don't know what your beliefs are on manifesting your reality, but if in your heart you don't believe you're loved or accepted, or do you think it's true that your reality will reflect an isolation, or is that just your perception?
It may, but here's what I know. I've spent thousands of so I never really told you about my life, but let me just hint at little things along the way. I've had the opportunity in my life to be with the richest people in the world, to sit at their dining room tables, to play on the floor with their children, and to meet their parents. I've had the opportunity for them to give me counsel and for them to sometimes on occasion ask my counsel on things they're doing in their life. I've had the opportunity to be their friends and to watch them through the course of their years, and they watch me through the course of my years. I've also had the opportunity to sit on street corners with some of the poorest of the poor, to have meals with them as well. And though the meals with the richest of the rich were prepared by 5-star cordon bleu chefs, the meals that we had on the cardboard boxes were often just the wine and cheese and bread that I would bring to the situation, to the room, to the box. And it didn't matter to me where I ate or who I ate with. One of the things that I saw, which was remarkable to me, was no matter how rich or poor a person was, no matter what color their skin, no matter what border they lived behind or what they believed, no matter what religion they practiced or didn't practice, no matter what they believed about themselves, everybody that I met wanted the same 3 things. They wanted to be loved and accepted. They wanted to be listened to and heard. And they wanted to be acknowledged and validated. And when I realized that, I realized I could do that for people. That's the easiest thing in the world. It's so much easier to love people than to hate people. It's so much easier to listen to them than to not listen to them. It's so much easier to acknowledge what they're saying than to disrespect what they're saying. And so I started to do that. And by now I've had hundreds of thousands of hours in conversation with hundreds of thousands of people. And what I found truly amazed me. That when people felt loved and accepted, listened to and heard, acknowledged and validated, their walls came down. And when their walls came down, all that was left is them and me. We were able to see each other and be with each other and hold each other and love each other. And in that love, miraculous things happened. People would write me and tell me pain in my body disappeared. Job opportunities have come to me. New career places have opened up. New ways of living my life that I never saw before have started to happen for me. Money's coming from unknown places. I have no idea how it's happening. Relationships have healed. Conversations with daughters or sons and fathers and mothers have improved. Spousal relationships have become better. And I had no idea how it all happened. I do nothing but just hold the space for people to be loved and accepted, listened to and heard, and acknowledged and validated. And as miraculous as that was, what I never could have expected is that somewhere out of the blue, somewhere for no reason, the universe said to me, Danny, we want you to feel loved and accepted. We want you to feel listened to and heard. We want you to feel more acknowledged and validated. And I can't believe that has happened. And I can't believe how people are responding now to simple things that I'm saying. I'm not saying anything different than what I said before. But suddenly it's entering into people's hearts. There's nothing I've done different. It's just love is being received.
That's really
for all those people. So for all those people who want to feel loved and accepted, just start that practice. Just start the practice of holding the space for other people and love them and listen and accept them, listen to them and hear them, acknowledge them and validate them. And who knows, maybe you too will be given the same gift that I was given. It came to me for no reason. There's no reason it won't come to you as well.
Pretty powerful stuff. And I totally believe what you're saying and resonate with it. It sounds, truth when you hear it. We got to take our break. We're at the top of the hour. We'll be right back with Daniel Bruce Levin, guys. Stay with us.
Hey, this is No Way Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a void walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK-DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Root on the Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a void walker.
G'day, void walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Root.
Hey, this is Fee, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a void walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner void walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, and as Leonard Skinner said, I guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Root in the show, and heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a new Art Bell. Thanks for all your shows, and keep it up.
Hey, this is Derek from Mass, aka the Night Stalker, and I'm a void walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California. I do not know all of the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a void walker. Thanks, Joe Root.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
Have you heard of heavy metals? Yeah! I'm not talking about the heavy metals in the junkyard. I'm talking about the heavy metals that build up in your body. Heavy metals in your body can make you feel sluggish, fatigued, and just plain off. Why not try Life Change Tea at GetTheTea.com? Cleansing your body and making you feel great. Cleansing the inside of your body of intruders that sneak their way into you and set up an intruder camp. Life Change Tea helps remove unwanted intruder camps. Brew it, steep it, and drink in the results. Tastes great, so you can create a new health habit. Our tea loves to help people. It just needs the chance. So order yours today by logging on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Our Life Change Super Strength Tea is waiting. This could be a beautiful relationship. Take charge of your health. Order at GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you are interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm, or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
From the Kingdom of Arkansas, you are listening to Joe Root and Lighting the Void here on the Fringe FM.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void. Daniel Bruce Levin, our guest tonight, author of the Mosaic, and also podcast host. And you do a podcast, isn't it called Conversations with Strangers? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I do two podcasts. One is Conversations with Strangers, and one is the Mosaic podcast. So both of them I do. They're both on a little bit of a hiatus right now because I feel like there's something new that wants to come through me, and so I'm waiting to see what that is. But I have about 100 episodes of the Mosaic podcast and about 250 conversations with strangers.
Very cool. Yeah, very cool. So to get into your story here, because this is what I was really thinking. Like, how did you have so many? You went from some big spiritual experiences. Did you start out in a particular religion? I mean, how did you start going down this journey?
So let me answer that for you, and I'm sorry that it took me a whole half hour to get to that answer to the question you asked me in the beginning. My deep apologies. My life was completely changed when my parents passed away. I was just a regular kid. I was born into a lower middle class family. My dad was an Orthodox Jew. My mom was a Reformed Jew, so I was brought up in conservative Judaism. And I loved Judaism. I loved going to temple. I loved going to Sunday school and Hebrew school. When my mom and dad passed away, I lost my heroes. And so I realized when I wrote the Mosaic that I asked the adults who were the wisest people that I knew, where did my parents go? And they told me they went to a place called heaven.
Yeah.
So as a young boy, I set out in search of that place called heaven. What happened is when my parents passed away, I moved in with an aunt and uncle. And my aunt, which was my mother's sister, married a man who was a household name around the world. And in those days, 50 years ago, he had 3 daughters, and a man didn't give his business over to his daughters. Even though they were smarter and probably more talented than I was, it just wasn't the thing to do. And you see how much we've changed in 50 years, thank God. The women are running big corporations, and they're doing it really, really well. But in those days, it was unheard of. So when I came in, he looked at me and he said, maybe there's something here. Maybe there's some reason why you were brought here, because I'm going to watch you for a little bit. And if I see something I like, I'm going to change your life one day. And about a month and a half later, he came and he took me out to lunch. And he said to me, I'm going to change your life today. And I said, how are you going to do that? He said, I want you to start tomorrow morning. I want you to give you a broom, and I want you to start pushing that broom. And I want you to work from the bottom of pushing a broom all the way up. In 15 years, I want you to be sitting in my seat. And so I want you to do your best to get as far as you can get on your own. And when you can't go any further on your own, I will mentor you, and I will help you, and I will lift you up, and I'll show you how to get past those things. What do you think? And I said, wow, I'm so incredibly inspired and impressed and thankful. But you're a wise man, and it took you a month and a half to look at me and see if I had the capability to do that. I'm just a kid. I would like to watch you for a year and see who you are as somebody that I want to be. And so he said, okay, that's really strange. You know, most people, 99.999% of the people would have said, why wait till tomorrow? Let's start today. Give me that broom. And I said, yeah, just our rotten luck. I'm the 0.0001. And he said, okay, I'll do it the way you want to do it. And a year later, he said to me, what's your answer? And to make a long story, it's already too long, shorter. It didn't end up working out. So I left the opportunity to run a multi-billion-dollar company.
Multi-billion-dollar company. Wow. Okay.
Multi-billion. And this was 50 years ago. So you can only imagine what that company would have been worth today, or is worth today. And it would have been, he was about to hand it over to me. And so I went to school and I studied psychology. And in studying psychology, my teacher was my mentor. And my mentor said to me, Danny, I want you to help me start organizational psychology. And I said, that's unbelievable. He said, I want you to become the one that I hand it over to. We'll start it together, and then I'll have you be the one that becomes the one that takes it over. And I looked and I said, I don't see the answers to the questions that I'm seeking in this psychology. And so I left that as well. I put my thumb out on the road and I hitchhiked around the world for 2.5 years. I ended up in a rabbinical school in Israel. En route to India, someone stopped me and said, were you born Jewish to go to India? Why don't you study here? And I met a holy man who said to me, if you go to India, you'll do the same thing you've done here. You say you've seen Israel north, south, east, and west, but I don't think you've seen a thing. Because if you saw anything, you would never leave. So if you want me to, you came here to get a blessing to me to send you to India. The blessing I'm going to give to you is that you stay here and learn how to see. Because if you go to India, you'll go north, south, east, and west, and you won't see a thing there either, because you don't know how to see. So I stayed with him for 5 years. And the day before I was ordained, I said, I just can't do this anymore. I can't be ordained in your name because I don't believe the things you believe. And the integrity of who I am as a human being wouldn't allow me to get ordained in your name and not be able to follow the teachings that you've given me. So I left. I went to San Francisco and I opened up a cafe and a bookstore. And the cafe and the bookstore did really, really, really well. And we were really, really successful and had really beautiful moments with people as we fed their bodies and we fed their minds. And it was just fun to be there and exciting to be there. We had a great time. But I was missing the spirit of what I was doing. And so I went and joined a monastery, a yoga monastery, where I sat and I had the beautiful opportunity to sit for 10 years as a monk. And some of those times I spent 10, 12, 15, 18 hours a day in meditation. And there were times where I would realize that my meditation wasn't really great meditation. I had fallen asleep in the chair because I was just so tired because I wasn't resting enough. I was up either working or praying. And I was chastising myself one day, and I heard my beloved say to me, Danny, why do you chastise yourself? I love that you sleep here in my arms. I love that I can just hold you while you sleep. And I love that when you wake up, I'm the first thing you see. And I'm the first thing you think about. Don't chastise yourself. Be here with me and just know that I love you. And that was the intimacy of the love affair that I had with my beloved. But then what happened is at a certain point in time, I realized that the peace that I felt in the silo of my monastery, I didn't feel when I went outside. And I saw the confusion and the chaos and the turmoil that the world was in. I didn't know what to do in it. And I wanted to get to a place where the peace that I felt in the monastery, I could feel in the marketplace. And so I left and I got married. And my wife and I had a daughter, and our daughter was developmentally delayed. And so she couldn't speak in the ways other people could speak, and people couldn't understand the words that she was saying. And so that was hard for my wife. It was hard for me, but I sort of somehow just was so close to her. I knew it would somehow work out. But my wife needed her to give her back something, and she wanted something that she couldn't have. And she ended up getting sick and having the worst cancer you could ever imagine. She spent 2.5 years of her life in blood-curdling, screaming pain for 45 minutes, every 45 minutes, all day, all night, 45 minutes of pain, 45 minutes of peace. And I said, baby, why don't you just allow them to give you medication? And she said, Danny, I have 45 minutes where my mind thinks clearly and 45 minutes where I'm in pain. So I don't want to lose the clarity of my mind in those 45 minutes by having my pain take over my life. And so we would fight through that pain together and just try and deal with that pain. But I was the great white knight. When I was around, nothing bad could happen to anybody. But in this case, I was 1 inch away from my wife, and I couldn't take 1 second of her pain away. And so I would go back and forth from taking care of my wife to taking care of my developmentally delayed daughter. And it was crazy. It was so overwhelmingly stressful that when my wife finally passed, there was a relief that I just had one job now, to take care of my daughter. And then I started to work with Hay House. And Hay House was a $3 million company. At that point in time, they published only the works of Louise Hay. And I came there and I said, gosh, if we define ourselves as a self-help publisher, why wouldn't we try and get all the self-help authors? And the man who ran it said to me, Danny, we'll never be able to get them. They're getting $1 million advances from big publishing houses, and we won't ever be able to do that. And I said to him, never's a really long time. I don't believe in never. I believe you brought me here to find a way to make never now. And so I created a new thing that we could do that actually no one had ever done before. I created the card decks. And we created card decks for all these New York Times best-selling self-help authors. We created the card deck version, which was beautiful, and people loved them. And our card decks ended up selling 10 times more than their New York Times books.
Oh, wow.
And so they would come to me, and they would say, Danny, why wouldn't we publish our books with you? If you created these card decks and they're selling so well, why wouldn't we create our books with you? And I said, that's a great question. I know the easy answer is you're making $1 million from the publishers that you have. They said, but they don't care for us the way you do, and they're not doing the things that you're doing. And I said, well, over time, you'll come over. That's okay. And we would love to have you. So Never became Now. And now Hay House is the most sought-after publishing house for people in the self-help field. And so we grew it from $3 million to $100 million in a 10-year span of time. But when I had done that work, then there was nothing left for me to do because they didn't need me now to open up any new doors. So I created a clothing line. And I thought, if people are buying the words of authors in books, why wouldn't they buy them on clothing? And it turned out nobody had ever written words on clothes before. And so it became a phenomenon, and people were saying, oh my God, this is the most innovative thing we've ever seen. And I hooked up with Masaru Emoto, who I had brought to Hay House. And he had done a study with water where he put positive words on pieces of paper and set the water glass on those positive words. And he saw the molecular structure of the water had changed, and it became positive. And it changed the molecules in the glass of water. And I said, gosh, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just we're made up of 87% water. If we wore positive messages on our clothing, what would that do? He said, Danny, that would change the molecular structure of people's bodies. And I said, that's the clothing line that I'm creating. Can I use your story to tell it? And he said, absolutely, I would love for you to do that. And so we created the story that by wearing these clothes, the molecular structure of people's bodies would actually change. And they became bestsellers in the high-end boutiques all around the world, and resorts and spas, and Neiman Marcus called us up, and I didn't even answer their call because I thought they had the wrong number, and they called me up again, and I said, "I'm sorry, what do you want with me? You have the wrong number. I didn't ever come to see you. I didn't come to sell you anything. I didn't even pitch you. I don't even know how you know my number." I said, "I think you have the wrong number. Who you're calling? Check your number and call who you want to call." And they said, "We want to call you. Our senior vice president was in a resort that you sold your clothes to, and in Dallas." And she said, "How in the world is it possible that we're Neiman Marcus and this little spa and resort has this beautiful line of clothes that we want? Get yourself to Dallas and show us your line." And so suddenly I was in all the Neiman Marcus accounts. And so things just started to happen like that for me. All through my life, things like that happened. And then my manufacturer got tired of manufacturing clothes, but he didn't tell me until 3 days before we were supposed to ship $1.5 million of sales for that first delivery of that season, and he had made nothing. And so I lost $300,000, and I lost my business in that one moment.
Wow.
And my heart started to have palpitations, and I was getting calls from credit card companies and vendors that were wanting the money, and I didn't have the money to give them. And I just went into sort of hiding. And at that moment, my wife, who I'm married to now, came to me and said, "I just love you so much, and I just want to be with you." And I looked at her and I said, "Why do you love me? You're 21 years younger than me. I have no money. My health is in bad shape. Why in the world would you love me?" And she said, "I've never had anybody ask why I love them before. I don't need a reason to love you. I love you because I love you." When she said that, my whole life changed. Suddenly I felt like I was invincible. And I realized that love doesn't need a reason to love. And I made a vow that day that I would do my very best to give that feeling of love to everybody I met, that people could feel love for no reason. And I remember talking to a woman just a few months ago, and she was telling me all of the things that were going on in her life. And I just said to her, "I want you to know how much I love you. I love you so much." And she said, "You're so full of crap. You can't love me. You don't even know me." And I said to her, hold on now. If we can hate for no reason, surely we can love for no reason too." And I realized that love just is. It doesn't need a reason. It doesn't need a purpose. And that's where I am now. The story I told you in the first half hour was the end of the movie, or the end, or the part that's happening right now in my life, and that's the build-up. I hope I answered your question.
Oh yeah, it does. It sounds like an amazing. Sounds like an amazing story. You know, so you're in you went through a couple of businesses, and you went through. I mean, I feel like everybody should have that kind of love in their life. Honestly. Like, why do you think some people constantly find themselves in situations where they feel like they're having to prove that they're worth love? Because this is something that I've seen quite a bit, actually, where, and even in myself and talking to others, that they're in situations where they feel like they have to prove themselves to be loved the way that you're talking about.
Yeah, because we've grown up in a world where we're told we're not good enough. We think we have to be superheroes. We think we have to have superpowers. So many people are running around saying, "My superpower is this." I don't like superpowers. The Mosaic for me taught me how beautiful the ordinary is. My heaven was found in the street worker, and in the blind woman, in the juice man, and in the gardener, in the trash man, and in the homeless guy. in the waitress and in the traveler. It was found in common, ordinary people. And if you think about it, ordinary is the most beautiful thing that could ever be. But in the human mind, we hate being ordinary. We think ordinary is terrible. We think ordinary is bad. But you know, the most ordinary thing that could ever happen is a sunrise. It happens every day. We know exactly the time it's going to happen. And it's the most beautiful thing that you could ever imagine. It feels like God himself is painting the sky. And it looks so beautiful. It's so ordinary that day naturally transitions into night. And night doesn't care if day wants to stay longer or not. Night comes when it's time to be night. Nowhere in nature does something want to be other than what it is. The mountain doesn't want to be the river. And the monkey doesn't want to be the elephant. Everything is content with who it is, except for humankind. We think we have to be more than we are. We don't accept the love that we have. We don't accept what's right in front of us. Buddha had a beautiful quote. He said, the cause of all suffering is wanting things to be other than they are. The cause of all peace is the acceptance of what is. It's that simple. We think we have to do all these things to achieve something that's right in front of us all the time. That doesn't need anything to be done to be given to us because it's already with us. That's what I was saying in the beginning. I have no idea why we think we have to work so hard to have love, or why we feel that we're not worthy of love, or why we feel that love is something we can never attain. Love is already here. And if it hasn't been here, it's anybody who's listening to this show right now, it's being delivered to you right this second. So sit and enjoy it. Sit and revel in it. Let it wash over you and bathe you and change you and help you. Not because you need to be fixed, but because love is your reality, not anything else. It's so simple. And we try and make it so hard.
What about, so, you know, and I hear what you're saying, and it's very, it's beautiful. It's inspiring. Since the COVID thing happened, a lot of people become isolated, right? And I'm trying not to take this from too much of an analytical or logical or even reason point of view. But when you look at things like the double slit experiment, how we're constantly co-creating our reality with reality itself, I feel a lot of emotion when I hear you say this stuff. But just like me and a lot of other people, when this show's over, they're going to turn off the lights or whatever, and it's going to be silent again. And what they're going to witness in their reality is that they're alone again. And that's a thing that I have a lot of conversations with people about. And I want to tell them kind of what you're telling them, is that they're not alone, that they're loved. But it does become hard sometimes to feel that way when you are alone. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So here's what I would say to people. Everything in the world that happens is a love letter from God. Listen to your aloneness. Listen to what it's trying to tell you. Listen to the gift it wants to give you. Instead of running from it or fighting it or saying it isn't what should be. Listen to it. It has a message for you. When we come back from break, I will share with you a story of my daughter, if I may.
Yeah.
That I think will make that point really clear.
Yeah, that would be great. Absolutely. That would be great. And I know some of you, I can see you in the chat rooms too. Like some of y'all are tearing up. That's great. We'll be right back. I'm loving this too. More Lighting the Void coming up. Stay with us.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The truth is out there, and so are we. KTLK, Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Want to support Lighting the Void? Just go to lightingthevoid.com, sign up on our membership page, and pick your package where you can get exclusive content, readings, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Also, check out the LTV shop where you can get your very own altar box, t-shirt, shack, hoodie with sigil, Roswell-style t-shirt, racerback tees, socks, long-sleeve shirts, stickers, and beanies. Keep Lighting the Void airing 5 nights a week by going to lightingthevoid.com and support today.
Is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Telepath is a weekly digital newsletter filled with the latest paranormal news, trending topics, and fresh articles from some of the most popular critical thinkers in the community today. Stay informed on your favorite paranormal podcasts and live streaming talk shows. Interact with the Telepath and upload your paranormal story or pics. It could be featured in an upcoming edition. Sign up right now for the free Telepath newsletter at paranormal.radio. That's paranormal.radio.
Lighting the Void and the Esoteric Scholar present the Altar Box, crafted and designed for magicians by magicians. Now you can take your practice with you. This beautifully handcrafted mobile altar opens and works as an altar for any of your spiritual, religious, or ritual practices. Made to travel and work in small spaces, the Altar Box comes with hidden compartments for your practice tools and accessories. The Altar Box also comes with a dark scrying mirror for scrying and reverses and fits perfectly also as a chalkboard for any sigil, symbol, or whatever you see fit to sketch. The Altar Box is handcrafted to carry as a small suitcase, so you may take your practice with you, and the hinges are made with solid material and hinged with leather and rivets for extra strength. The mirror piece and floor plate fit perfectly when closed, so no movement will happen. Use it in small places as well. You can practice meditation, magic, planetary magic, sigil magic, scrying, ritual. Never be without your practice tools again, no matter the setting or where you go. And this season, give the gift of magic for yourself or your loved one by grabbing your Altar Box. Was $249.99, now $199.99. The sale ends January 1st, 2021. Just go to lightingthevoid.com/altarbox and get yours while the sale lasts.
I don't know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I am a void walker. Hey, this is Macon, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Root.
All right. Welcome back to Lighting the Void. Pretty powerful stuff tonight, especially on the spiritual and even for me, I would say the spiritual and an emotional level. Every now and then, I think we need to
to hear messages like this from our guest, Daniel Bruce Levin, who's here with us. And again, you can go to the website for reference, which is danielbrucelevin.com, and also the mosaiconline.com to check out his new book and the podcast both. And thanks again for coming on. And I know you said that you were going to tell the story of your daughter, so I'll let you go ahead and start, Daniel.
Thank you, and thank you for the honor of speaking about my website and my book. The book is The Mosaic, and it's available on Amazon, and I really, really would love for people to get it because it will shift the way everything they see happens. And so a lot of these questions that you've been asking and a lot of things we've been talking about come from there. So let me tell you, I've told you already of my beautifully charmed life, where I've been able to sit with some of the richest people in the world, where I worked with Hay House, where I was friends with the people that inspire millions and millions of people, and that I sat on street corners with the poorest of the poor. But the woman that's changed my life the most, probably more than anybody else that I've ever met, is a 31-year-old woman that I've never been able to have a conversation with. Not because I didn't want to, or not because she didn't want to. Just because she was physically unable to get her mouth to say words in a way that people can understand her. That woman is my daughter. And for the first few years of her life, it was okay. We just loved each other so much, we got by. And there was nothing that important that she had to say. But as she got older, she started to have things that she wanted to share with me, and I just couldn't understand her. And the world couldn't understand her either. But because we were so close, she counted on me to understand her. And so when I couldn't understand her, it hurt even more.
Yeah.
And so what she would do is she would try and say what she was saying. And when I didn't get it, she would say it louder, thinking that her dad's getting older and maybe he's losing his hearing, which was a good possibility, but it wasn't the case. It wasn't that she wasn't speaking loud enough. It was the clarity of her words weren't there. And when I realized that she was trying so hard to speak to me and the clarity wasn't there, and when she realized she couldn't get through to me, she went from speaking to yelling to tantruming. And that tantruming could happen an hour later, 2 hours later. It just came from the frustration of not being able to be heard. And so we could be in a restaurant sitting amongst people having dinner, and she would go into a crazy tantrum. We could be out driving in a car and she would go into a tantrum. We could be on the beach walking. We could be in the store. I sometimes would take her to work with me and just take her so she could see the work that her dad did. And sometimes in those meetings, she would go into tantrum. And it was so hard for me to understand and deal with. And when she had tantrumed and she still wasn't understood, she would run and she would try and attack me. She would come running at me and try and rip my shirt or bite me or do some damage to me. And this went on for a long time. It went on for probably 15 years. Sometimes it didn't happen at all during the course of a day, and sometimes it happened 10 times a day. And I just got so frustrated, and I just didn't know what to do. And finally, one day, she was running towards me in rage to attack me. And I looked at her, and she caught my eye, and she normally didn't let me catch her eye. And I said to her, Lisa, this can't go on anymore. You know I love you more than anything in the world. I would give anything. I would give everything I had to understand those 6 words you're trying to tell me. I just can't understand your pronunciation. Please try to talk to me without using words. I had no idea that what would come from that came from that. The look of rage that was in her eyes suddenly turned into a smile that melted my heart. And in perfect English, for the first time ever, she looked at me and she said, I am Daddy. And I said, I'm sorry, what the expletive deleted are you talking about? How in the world are you doing that? And she took her forefinger and put it to the side of her head. And I realized what she was doing was she was putting thoughts into my head. But I still didn't believe her. I said to her, "You little son of a gun, have you been putting thoughts in my head?" And she went, "Yes, Daddy." And she started to laugh so hard and so contagiously that I couldn't help but laugh too. All the pain and all the weight of trying to communicate to me, she finally had gotten through what she was doing. Do you know that from that moment on, she never yelled, she never tantrumed, and she never attacked again? And I can't say that I always understand what the words that she's putting into my head, but I understand her a lot more. Had this situation ended there, had that been the end of the story, I would have been so happy because now I have a way to communicate with my daughter that is real and fresh, and I can understand a lot of the things she's saying. But I got greedy. And I said, I wonder if the other people are like her. I wonder if that's what happens. And I started to look at the corporations I work with. And I started to look at the families I work with. I started to look at the hospitals and the prison system and the educational system and the small businesses that I worked with. And lo and behold, I saw the exact same behavior. When people spoke and they didn't get heard, they yelled. When they yelled and they didn't get heard, they created some sort of chaos. They created confusion and created a mess. They created a chaotic situation that destroyed the fabric of what was going on. And when that didn't work, they literally tried to take down a building, or they would shoot people in a square, or they would destroy a business, or they would destroy a marriage, or they would destroy a friendship, or they would destroy a company.
Wow.
And I found it so ironic that a 31-year-old woman who's never been able to have a conversation in her life taught me the key, the model to understanding how to resolve conflict. And we were talking about it during break, if in a situation that was going on, that when somebody in the world speaks to us and we don't listen to it, it speaks louder. When it speaks louder and we still don't hear it, it creates havoc. When it creates havoc and we still don't hear it, it attacks. Our environment does it. Our relationships do it. Our business does it. The problem is we're just not listening. If we would understand that everything in this world speaks to us, everything in this world is an opportunity for us to listen, we would understand one of the key points of the Mosaic. The Mosaic is about nothing being what it seems. The people that Mo met on his journey to teach him about heaven were not the priests and the clergy and the rabbis and the ministers and the shamans and the swamis and the gurus. They were simple, ordinary people. And he wondered, why in the world why in the world are these people here? What are they going to show me? They surely can't show me heaven. But he heard a voice inside say, listen to them and let them tell you their story. And in 100% of the cases, when they told him their story, what he realized is the people in front of him now were not the same people as the one he came up to. And it wasn't because they had changed. It was because he had changed. What he saw was now totally different. And he realized the heaven he was looking for was that moment of perceptual shift where everything that he thought was real suddenly shifted to become something else. That's the story of the Mosaic. A beautiful, beautiful story about loss and retrieval, about healing and chaos, about the pieces of a mosaic coming together to create the reality and the totality of the artistry of what happens when like and unlike minds come together to create this beautiful art that's called Mosaic.
Wow, it's fascinating story too. So, and when your daughter was telling you, she was trying to connect with you on a different kind of level, right? I mean, And I feel like I really feel like what you're talking about, I've had connections like this with people, and for some reason we don't say it or we don't speak up. I wonder sometimes if we should do that, if we should just be like, hey, are you, maybe it's what's called to intuition, when you know someone needs something or is hurting or is in pain, and you don't speak up, or maybe because you don't want to sound crazy or whatever. But I think it's hard for people to be vulnerable. And I think sometimes if we have the power to say, hey, are you okay? I feel like something's wrong, or maybe I feel like you need this. It might sound a little weird, but maybe people do need those things, you know?
Yeah. But it's not only people. It's like, look at the environment. You don't think the environment is speaking to us? You don't think our businesses are speaking to us? You don't think our houses are speaking to us? You don't think our relationships are speaking to us? Everything, what the Mosaic showed me is everything in life is speaking to us. If we can only learn how to listen, what would we hear if we heard the things in our life speaking to us? When I wrote the Mosaic, I wrote what I thought was a fabulous book. And I know how to save a file. But I would write something that I thought I was so proud of it. I would save it. In the morning, I would wake up and the file wasn't there. And I thought, what the heck happened? And I would rewrite it again. And I would write it again, and I would write it again. And every time it was taken, finally, another time it was corrupted. Another time I finished almost the entire book, and my computer crashed, and we saved everything on the computer except the book that I had written. Oh, man. It took me almost 3 years to write a book that I thought would take me 8 weeks to write. And when I finally asked I finally called the characters in my mind's eye to me in front of me, like on a Zoom call. And I said, what the heck is going on here? Why won't you let me write this book? Why won't you let me finish this book? What's the problem? And one by one, they said the same thing to me. They said, what you're writing for us to say is not what we want to say. Listen to us. We're trying to tell you what we want to say. If you listen to us, your book will be done in 30 days. I said, deal. I'm going to do it. I'm just so frustrated. I'm just going to do it. 30 days to the day, the book was done. And when I look back on it, and I wonder, what was different? What changed? I realized everything changed. I was writing the book from the perspective of me telling the story, but me not being a part of the story. The characters in my book wanted me to get the story, were telling me the story from me. And they said to me, once you write the story that helps you to see yourself differently, everybody will see themselves differently as a result of it. And now when I go back and read it, or when I just recorded it to make an audio version of it, I can't believe what's in it. It's as if I've never heard it before. And I'm starting to see things in it that are just so new and fresh. And it's the story that happens between the words of the story that are really revealing to me now. I can't recommend that book highly enough. It'll help people deal with loss. It'll help people see that what they think is real is not real. It'll help people understand that no one and nothing is what they appear to be. It'll help people to understand this world is speaking to us, telling us beautiful, sacred, holy, beautiful, transformative messages. All we have to do is take time and listen.
Well, so is this the same thing as, when you meditate? Like, I get what you're saying. I really do. But I just want to clarify things for people. Like, some of the biggest questions that we have in our life, a lot of times people go, well, I need to meditate, or I need to pray, or is this really my intuition saying this, or is this my Is this my paranoia or ego? And I've always looked for those answers, right? Because sometimes we'll have questions about decisions that we need to make in our life. And I think when you see success, and you can measure success by money, love, however you want to measure it, other people make decisions based on what they see in other people's lives. I mean, basically, a lot of people do that because they compare. But I think a lot of times our intuition is telling us something different, or that voice is telling us to do something entirely different, and it doesn't line up with what we're seeing or comparing to. Does that make sense?
100%. In my conversations with people, I have a unique ability, and that's why people come and work with me. I have a unique ability to be able to hear what the heart and soul are saying. I mean, for a person whose mission is to help people learn how to listen, I sure talk a lot, don't I? You would think that when I was given that a mission, I thought, oh my God, you must be really desperate. I mean, don't you have, I mean, I'm on the lowest of the low of the totem pole. Don't you have somebody else who can do this better? And I heard my inner voice say, yes, you're right. On one level, we want you to learn how to listen more. But Danny, here's what's far more important. You have an ability to tell a story which captures the mind of people. And when you capture the mind of people, fear lives in their mind. So you capture fear in the minds of those people. And what you do very consciously is while your mouth is telling their mind stories, your heart is touching their heart, and your soul is touching their soul. And you're listening very carefully to what the heart and the soul are saying. That's the place where transformation happens. So often I'll hear people tell me something with their mouth, and I'll say to them, gosh, I don't even know you, but why do I get the feeling that your heart and soul are saying something different? And they say, yeah, you're right. And I say, how is that possible? How is it possible that I would know that? But it is possible. And when we learn to listen to the most powerful voice we could ever hear, that voice of our own soul, we've forgotten who we are. We spend so much time worried about what the world thinks of us, and worried about how we can do what people want us to do, or how we can do what we think we're supposed to do, that we've forgotten how to hear the voice of our own soul. So I would say to people, start to experiment like a scientist. Start to listen to your voice on small decisions, on things that aren't going to make too much difference if you get it right or get it wrong, because there really isn't any right or wrong, but just in the fact that you might think there is. Start to listen and start to be able to discern when it sounds like this, that's always the voice of my soul. When it sounds like this, that's always the voice of my ego. And I want to learn how to listen to the voice of my soul. And you'll find in a very short period of time, just like a scientist, you'll be able to distinguish much, much better which voice is which.
Yeah, that's very, very inspiring. Thank you for saying that. I feel like there's a quote at the bottom of one of your websites that talks about be vulnerable, and I find myself in that situation where I don't mind being vulnerable. Like I've even had times on this show where I've poured my heart out and cried on the air, right? And like even if my quote manhood's at stake or whatever, but I feel like when you are vulnerable, that's when you make connections too, because as scary as it is to be vulnerable and take your walls down, that's when real connections are made. That's when people go, yeah, you know what? I understand that. I feel that too.
Yeah. Every time I've opened up and allowed people to see me, every time I've shared with them stories that don't show me at my highest, show me perhaps at my lowest, I found the response to people has always been to come and want to hold me and hug me and love me, to tell me it's going to be okay. to just share love with me in those moments. I don't think anybody's ever used it against me and torn me down. Not to say that some people won't.
Yeah, but that's kind of what, that's the risk of vulnerability. I mean, that's why it's called vulnerability, because you're putting yourself there in a place where you can get hurt. And I think we all need to we all need to see that for what it is and hold that as a very precious thing, when people are vulnerable with us.
100%. I agree with you 100%. And when you see in the story of the Mosaic, this little boy, Mo, walking along the streets and walking along the path, meeting up with all these people and having them share their teachings, and they're not teachings, they're the life story. When you see the garbage man come and help him take away his garbage, and it's not his physical garbage, it's his emotional garbage and his mental garbage, you start to realize the best thing in the world could be if I would be seen and heard, and I would see other people and hear other people. And the only way that's going to happen is if we allow our walls to come down and we allow ourselves to be kind to ourselves and to not have to protect ourselves from ourselves or from other people. When we do that, the world comes in abundance. And the world we get to live in is a beautiful, benevolent, kind, good world. I can't wait to hear from people from this show, how their lives have changed through the course of reading the Mosaic, through the course of practicing vulnerability, through the course of allowing love to come in and work its magic, and through the process of listening. I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you. I love you so, so much. And I'm honored to be here as a guest on your show.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, ditto, man. And thanks for coming on. It really, I think that we really all needed to hear what you had to say tonight. So thank you for coming on again. Really. And you guys make sure you go to the website, themosaiconline.com. That's about the book, and DanielBruceLevin.com as well. We'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same channel, with Mary Ducina, who's going to do the New Moon special. Stay tuned for the Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable. You guys have a good night. Sweet dreams.